Welcome to our StreetPricer Demo, the ultimate repricing tool for your eBay store. This demo will go over 3 easy steps to get StreetPricer up and running. Number 1, choose between competitor or velocity repricing. Number 2, set up auto price rules. And finally, set up floor and ceiling prices. The StreetPricer dashboard. Before we start, let's take a look at the StreetPricer dashboard. Starting from the left, we have the number of listings and variations. If you use multi-variations on eBay, each individual variation is considered a separate item in StreetPricer because each variation can have its own pricing and product code, but we only count the ones you have in stock. Then, over here, we have the number of items that you are currently priced above competitors, which means someone out there is cheaper than yours. There are several reasons why that may be the case. For example, a conscious decision to not be the cheapest, or if you're only using StreetPricer as a passive price monitoring tool without auto pricing. Next, we have the items at floor, which is the number of items that are at floor prices, therefore they can't go any lower. At the far right is the number of price revisions in the last 24 hours. The next section is the sales overview on a weekly basis, in both turnover and quantity. And then the velocity indicator, which is probably the most important information for running an eBay store. On the velocity indicator, the red bar means 0 sold, orange means 1 to 5, and green means more than 5. In this example, straight away, I can see in the last 30, 60, and 90 days. Out of many thousand items in my store, only a small portion are actually selling and doing the heavy lifting. Therefore, I should make sure these items are protected from competitors. I would also look at why these items in the red aren't selling. Am I missing something? Do they have competitors? Or are they correctly priced? Further down is the competitor search section, which gives you an idea of how many of your items have suspects or competitors. When our radar scans for potential competitors on eBay, we always identify the listings firstly as suspects. Once they're confirmed, either by our auto-lock logic or manually by you, suspects then become competitors. For the suspects that are confirmed irrelevant, they'll be discarded and will never show up again. You control who you would like to compete against, because we only auto-price against competitors, not suspects. When our radar scans, it compares the item specifics between your items and other sellers' items. The fields in the item specific are the GTIN fields, which are the UPC, MPN, or SKU numbers. We can also scan using the keywords that you provide. Without GTIN or keywords, we will not be able to find any suspects or competitors. That's why this bar is an important indicator. To ensure you're always profitable, we only auto-price items that we have floor prices for. In this auto-price section, you will see the number of your items that have floor prices and those without. It also shows where you stand in terms of price relative to your competitors, whether yours are higher or lower. If you look at the price revisions chart here, it tells you where StreetPricer is sending the price updates to, whether it's directly to eBay, to your e-commerce platform, or offline to your email address. Here we have the number of price revisions up versus down. The most common misconception is that auto pricing is a race to the bottom. It is definitely not. We do millions of reprices every month, and the statistics show the number of ups versus downs are approximately 50-50. The reason being, if you need to compete against a seller, you would of course bring your price down to be competitive. However, if that seller is out of stock, no longer selling that item, or the price has gone up, then you would want to know about that immediately and lift your price accordingly to increase your profit. Okay, let's go through the 3 simple steps to optimize your prices. 1. Choosing between competitor or velocity repricing. To decide which option is best for your eBay store, there is a simple question. Do you sell mainstream, branded, or new items? Which usually means, do you have other sellers selling exactly the same items? If the answer is yes, you should definitely go with competitor-based repricing. On the other hand, if you sell products that do not have direct competitors, such as your own brands, unbranded, generic items, collectible, fashion, or used items, then velocity-based repricing is usually the better alternative. Competitor-based repricing gives you pinpoint accuracy against who and what you choose to compete. With competitor repricing, we link your competitors' items to yours and calculate your optimal price points based on the price rules set by you. It works well if you use product codes or search keywords. It reacts quicker to the changing market dynamics. Whereas with velocity, because you're not looking at your competition, we calculate your optimal pricing based on your rate of selling, which is how many units you sell over a given time. We calculate your optimal pricing based on how fast or how slowly you're selling. Because there is no need to consider your competition, velocity repricing is usually easier to set up. Now that we know the difference between competitor and velocity repricing, the next step is, what is your pricing strategy? 2. Set up auto price rules. Our auto pricing is rule-based. Most sellers are happy with just one price rule, but you can set up as many rules as you need to suit your business. For example, you can have a price rule for one product group to match the lowest competitor, and a different price rule for another product group to aggressively undercut and be the price leader. To set up a price rule, you give it a name, decide on how often you want to auto price, and when you want to auto price. With custom scheduling, you can choose the days and the precise time to auto price. Further down, the first two tabs are for competitor-based repricing. In Upon Competitors, matching lowest is the default, which is popular for most sellers. If you want to undercut your competitors, you can choose to price below the lowest by, let's say, 1 cent or 3%. On the other hand, you can also choose to hover above the lowest competitor by pricing above by, say, 1 cent. Hovering is a popular strategy, especially if you want to avoid knee-jerk price reductions from your competitors that could drive the prices further down. There are other settings too, such as rounding down to the nearest $9 or down to the nearest 99 cents, or indeed any number that you prefer. With the next tab, when there is no competition, you can choose to leave the price unchanged, switch to velocity repricing, or move to ceiling price, either immediately or at a rate of increase that you prefer. So your observation is correct. In a price rule, you don't have to limit yourself to just competitor or just velocity. You can utilize both and switch from competitor to velocity when there is no competition, and many sellers do that. The last tab is for velocity repricing. If you don't have competitors or don't want to worry about competitors, you can come straight to here and ignore the previous two tabs. In fact, once you've checked this box, StreetPricer will ignore the settings of the two previous tabs. Here, you determine the interval that StreetPricer looks at your sales velocity, whether it's every week, every 3 days, or every day. Then, depending on the quantity you sell in that period, if your item is not selling, you may want to adjust your pricing down by a certain percentage in order to gain traction and to improve your best match ranking. If you're selling between, say, 1 to 5 in that period, you may choose to leave the price unchanged. If you sell more than 5, you may want to increase your sale price until you find the optimal price point for your item. And with this option here, you can revert to competitor repricing when your inventory drops below a certain quantity. Therefore, it's an inventory management tool as well as a repricing tool. Whether it's competitor or velocity based, all price revisions are always within the boundaries of the floor and ceiling price of each item. Once the price rules are set, come to this section and choose where StreetPricer should send the price updates to. If you choose to have the price updates sent to eBay directly, subject to the floor and ceiling prices, we will change your prices on eBay for you. If you choose to have the price updates sent to your email address, it is offline, which means StreetPricer will only email you the price suggestions. In other words, your prices will not be changed automatically, and you will have to manually revise the prices yourself. We always recommend you to send your price updates to eBay directly in order to automate and save time. 3. Set up floor and ceiling prices. Floor and ceiling prices are used to control your profit margin. If you choose to have the price updates sent to your email, because that is not actually updating your prices live, StreetPricer will email you price suggestions for all items, even those without floor prices. However, if you're sending your price updates to eBay or to your e-commerce platform software, StreetPricer will only process items that have floor prices. Floor prices are the minimum prices you're willing to sell your items for. A floor price is typically your cost of goods plus eBay fees, merchant fees, cost of shipping, sales taxes, your overhead, staff costs, and most importantly, your profit margin. Ceiling prices are equally important to make sure your items' prices are realistic and stop you from accidentally overpricing your items. There are several ways to enter and load your floor and ceiling prices onto StreetPricer, such as using a CSV file or using our API, but the easiest way is to use our Auto Floor and Auto Ceiling feature under Settings. Instead of having the floor prices calculated, here you can simply pick a percentage that you would like to apply to your current price. Similarly, for the ceiling prices, pick a percentage that you think is applicable to your business and click Apply Now. That's all you have to do. Using the Auto Floor and Auto Ceiling gets you going with StreetPricer immediately. You can always refine those prices later on. Thank you for watching this video. There are many other videos on our YouTube channel that you would find useful, so please come back and check them out. Come to our website, reach out to us, and we'll get back to you. Bye for now.